To begin with, let's look at the typical household income expenditures by percentage. These percentage figures are common and can be found several places along the internet. Housing usually takes 25 to 35% of gross income. Food 10 to 15%. Transportation also 10 to 15%. Utility costs generally run between 5 and 10%, as does insurance. Recreation and giving take up 5 to 10% of income. And saving also 10 to 15% of income. Retirement savings recommended 10% of income. Two things occur when we begin to think about spending the stimulus money. If you're in a situation where you need the money because you've been laid off, or your hours at work are reduced, or your costs have gone higher, consider breaking the stimulus money up this way: 25% to housing, which is $300, 15% for food, 10% for transportation, 5% for utilities, insurance, recreation, and 30% for savings. And here's why. Paying $300 toward your house payment or toward your rent is probably not enough to cover the full bill, but it represents a good faith effort to pay, and it may keep your landlord or your lender in business. Of course, you're going to have to cut some expenses, and you may need to use social services support for the essentials. Long-term sustainability as a household demands both savings and recreation. The important thing is to make sure that you don't switch the amounts just because of frustration from having been in the house for a couple of weeks. Now, if you find that the stimulus money arrives and you don't need it because you're still working from home, for example, or you have other income and you've been able to support your costs, here's a different way to look at spending that money. For savings and insurance and transportation and housing and utilities, you add this much to your emergency fund just in case things go poorly later on. Maybe this isn't the most important or the only emergency that occurs this year. Just don't hoard the money. For food, the 10% or $120, you should consider eating meals out with your food money, supporting your local restaurants and supporting their employees, because when we're all back to work again, we're going to need those folks. 35% to giving, or $420, you should consider giving that away. The stimulus money is supposed to be spent, not stashed away in savings. And your spending helps others survive. There are many charitable organizations and out-of-work employees and other locations that would really appreciate your support. Consider your local food pantries or the Salvation Army. Talk to the folks at your place of worship, or you can give it to people that you know are out of work. The point is to get the money out of your hands. Spending the stimulus money has a purpose. If you spend the money, people will get paid even though they're at a reduced salary rate or their hours have been cut. And they'll take that money and they will eat, and they'll pay their bills and take care of their families. And when the emergency is over, because they survived, they can get back to normal work and normal paychecks again. But if you hold on to the money, if you hide it away in a savings account, then your local workers, your neighbors, may become unemployed or stay unemployed. And then when the emergency is over, they're all going to have to move on to public assistance programs to eat and to live and to pay the rent. They do have to live, but you might end up paying many times more in taxes later than the little bit of stimulus money that you held on to. The goal of the stimulus money is to prime the pump until the money, the water, flows freely again. And it can't do that if it's sitting in a savings account. So please spend the money. There have been some mistakes and misunderstandings about the receipt of the COVID stimulus payment, and so here's an update. If the IRS underpaid you, if they didn't count someone in your household who should have received stimulus money, like if you had a baby during the time that you were out of work, the IRS is going to catch that up when you file for your 2020 taxes next year. And if you got overpaid, let's say you had a 16-year-old who turned 17 during the year, there's no clawback from the IRS. So they're not going to take that money back. If they overpaid you, enjoy it. This money is not taxable, and it will not change your tax refund or your tax due next year unless they underpaid you. Because remember, if they underpaid you, they're going to catch that up. They're going to add that to your return next year. People who don't file taxes but do receive Social Security assistance or VA disability compensation will still get a stimulus check even though they haven't filed taxes. There's no need to file a tax return just to get a stimulus payment. And if you have dependents who are over 16 years of age, if they're 17 and older, if they don't file taxes on their own, they will not get a check. So, how do I know if I'll get a stimulus check? Here's some basic rules. If you paid taxes in 2018 and or 2019, you'll get a check. If you are the dependent of taxpayers and you are age 16 or younger, you will receive the child portion, the $500 stimulus check. College students who file taxes will receive a stimulus check. Retirees who file taxes will get a stimulus check. Disabled veterans receiving disability compensation will receive a stimulus check. Disabled adults receiving Social Security will also receive a stimulus check. And if you are an H-1B or H-2A visa card holder, you will also receive a stimulus check. Here's who won't get one. If you are a dependent and you are over 16 years of age and you don't file taxes on your own, you will not get a check. If you are an illegal immigrant, you will not get a check. And non-American citizens, that is to say foreign nationals who are not on H-1B or H-2A visas and not filing taxes in the United States. The other holdback is for people who owe back child support. If payments from the government are usually held to pay back child support debt, then your stimulus check will likewise be applied to pay your back child support debt. But the other usual attachments, like back taxes and student loan debt, which might otherwise cause you to lose your tax return, those will not be attached this year, and you will get a stimulus check. A couple of words on the child stimulus money. The goal is to spend it, and of course kids have needs. So what a great time this is to buy clothing, to make major seasonal purchases for the kids like summer outfits, or to get ahead of back to school for next year by buying the school supplies that they're going to need, or a laptop computer or a tablet that they can use for schoolwork. If you're a parent but you're not the custodial parent, please hand the stimulus money off to the primary custodial parent. Respect the intent of court orders and agreements. It's for the kids. You might consider adding the stimulus money to their college funds if you and they don't need it today. So if you have a college fund and an infant, what a great time this is to drop that money in the college fund and earn some interest. Mostly with the kids, you need to explain what the money is for. Kids need to understand finances because they're going to become adults very shortly. And you need to let them know that the stimulus money comes from taxes. and those taxes will get paid back over time as the taxes come out of paychecks and sales and property assessments and all the other various ways that tax money is raised. Help your kids to become good citizens by helping them understand finances.